Our major opposition parties here in the country, in Nigeria, have urged the All Progressives Congress-led federal government to be transparent in the disbursement of 4 billion naira funds to deserving vulnerable households. Now, the parties also warn that the fund could be distributed among members of the ruling APC, similar to what was allegedly done with many of the palliatives released by the government. On Thursday, the federal government approved 4 billion naira for conditional cash transfers to support vulnerable households across Nigeria. The initiative is expected to assist at least 10 million displaced households with a focus on those in the northeast. The cash transfer program will begin in February and run until April. With me is Peter Ameh, who is a member of the Opposition Labour Party and a governance, policy and development analyst. Thank you so much, Ameh, for joining me on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're part of an opposition party. We've had other opposition parties raising concerns about the potential lack of transparency, or advising that there shouldn't be lack of transparency when it comes to disbursing these funds. What sort of mechanisms can the government put in place so we don't see a repeating cycle in this issue?
As an opposition chieftain, what we do is just to speak truth and try to make sure that government see beyond the prison of its own policies that have not been working. If you looked at by November, October last year, the Minister of Finance came out to say that 25,000 was sent to about 25 million Nigerians, which are approaching about 625 billion naira. And, you also have this 75,000 to 70,000 households that they are planning. That will be about 5.25 trillion naira, about 3-point-something billion dollars. So you now come again with this 4 billion naira, and the Abacha loot that was actually returned over 98 billion naira was also shared. And at the time they started all this conditional cash transfer, Nigeria was ranking about 75% in the poverty, with 75 million Nigerians under the poverty bottom line. And today, as I talk to you, about 56% of Nigerians are under the poverty below the poverty line. That's counting for over 129 million Nigerians. This will show that this policy is not working, this policy is not transparent, and the policy, people don't even trust in this policy, because for every minister or those who have been in charge of this poverty alleviation program or this conditional cash transfer, it has been messed up with all sorts of corruption allegations.
And we understand those concerns, but let's talk about solutions, right? It's not been transparent. People do not believe in it. And yes, there's this conversation we'll have later about it not being the long-term goal, obviously, to fix an economy.
That's the truth.
But in this case of sort of immediate mitigation, what sort of strategies can the government follow to make sure that this actually gets to the most vulnerable people, the people that need it the most, and it's not siphoned?
I think the government must put more money into concrete policies. If government cannot be, the federal university cannot be packing up when ASU goes on strike, and ASU, all the requests made by ASU is not up to the amount of money that has been transferred to Nigerians that they claim that has been transferred to Nigerians, and we don't feel the impact on the economy. I think if that money is put into our federal universities, if that money is invested well to provide, I've always been in school. I go to public school in our federal universities. As I speak today, we don't attract foreign students from many parts of the world. It's because of the dilapidated infrastructure that we have in our universities. We have federal unity schools that are no longer, functionable, and people are no longer, sending their words there. You now have also federal technical educations. I think we should be able to invest more in procuring technical education for our people, so that they can be meaningful contribution to the development of our economy. Because we can't have a situation today, we have a drop in the number of doctors that we have in our hospital. So why not put more money into funding this project, infrastructural project, that will have a long-term effect on our economy? And also we have dilapidated over 36,000 kilometers of federal roads that are not, the majority of them are not working. You can't even go around transporting your goods and services freely and comfortably within this territory of this, within our territory. And so we need to invest concretely on policy that will transform the lives of our people on the long term, on the long run. Because we can't continue this bottom-line approach of investing money, and this money is not taking our people out of poverty. We still have the Development Perception Index that says Nigeria is ranked over 160 over 189. So these are the challenges that we have in our economy. And for us to have a long-term effect, the government must look at things that are fast. Okay, if you say you are not even willing to give technical education to people or invest more in our public education so that we can have people, the people you want to reduce the burden of the economy on them are complaining that transportation cost has increased by 300% since the removal of fuel subsidy. Why not just provide this, what like Shopee was, provide transportation buses across the nation so that people cost of commuting to their workplace will reduce. You need to look at policy that is, that will be more appreciated by Nigerians, not policy that many Nigerians are saying this money goes into thin air, they don't have relatives that have received it, there's corruption allegation here and there, nobody has been tried for it, and people also believe that when you use this money as a means for political consideration, basically the major beneficiary of the resources are coming from your own party, then there's a lot to beg to.
When you talk about people complaining about not receiving it, let's talk about Nigeria and our data management system targeting vulnerable households. The minister mentioned that these cash transfers will target 10 million displaced households, right? Utilizing NIN data. Well, there's some questions on the reliability and inclusivity of that approach, because in this country, data management is often flawed. So how can this be worked around if we can't even capture these people that need this monies the most?
First of all, there's no way the government can tell me that through NIM they will know those who are most vulnerable. They won't be able to know that. I'm from a community that is deep in the forest, and I know how many people who are vulnerable who have not benefited from this scheme. So there's no empirical procedure that have been deployed by government to show that government sincerely have gone out to gather data. We don't have a sustainable, a reliable data, censored data. I will say that at this point we have social person within this age bracket, we have this person that is unemployed, we have this person with this condition. I think for government, if government can up this much investment and put it in healthcare, do you know how many people that call their relatives that are in hospital that can't pay medical bills? Do you know how many people who are frustrated that don't even have insurance? So we don't have a structure in place that is protecting our poor and vulnerable. And yet we are sharing money. Most of this money goes to, for political consideration, and which is the truth. So because there's no empirical evidence, there's no data that have been supplied since this money has been shared and say, this is what we have achieved from sharing this money. This is what this government has been able to do to reduce the level of poverty in our society. The data that keeps on coming out, whether it's poverty perception index, whether it's human development index data, is not favorable. It's still getting worse. So what is the money doing? The money is not doing anything in the society. We need to have a concrete approach and a very sustainable approach to invest in these resources to make sure that our people will have place to be able to get jobs.
We need long-term strategies to reduce poverty, to eradicate poverty, not to share money today, tomorrow that person needs money again. But in the interim, to mitigate the struggles of Nigeria, what are some of the short-term other reliefs or social intervention that the government can embark on apart from sharing money?
The shortest, look, we are solely dependent on the monoproduct economy as we speak, depending on our crude oil and the rest of it. But what we can do that has the shortest gestation period, the shortest period that we can start to, see benefit for our people is agriculture. They know it, we know it, everybody knows the truth. If you are going to put money in cassava today, with the level of demand for cassava international market, we will be able to we have a period at which we will plant, and within 1 year period, we start to harvest. And Nigerians, look, if you put 4 billion and you put 1 million for cultivation of 1 hectare of land, you know how many hectares you would have cultivated for cassava alone. And if you put their state within Benue, Kogi, and Niger alone can feed this country and also go into exportation. So government must have a strategic work plan on how to work with professionals who are in the agro-ally industry, our academics who understand how to invest this money, and sit down and give a strong directive on how this money should be invested. And when you are investing this money, there are people who are going to get employed. People will be able to earn for themselves. People will be able to work. This is a lazy man approach to solving economic problem. We cannot follow this shortcut and then use our money to try to use to, push it into political spending that will not generate any positive impact on the economy or on the lives of the masses that are currently bearing the brunt of this bad economy.
As one of our guests said the other day, no economy in the world has been built on palliatives.
None.
Thank you so much, Peter Ameh, for joining us on Newsnight to discuss the federal government's plan to disburse 4 billion naira to vulnerable families.